Welcome back to another lesson of East Main 101. I am your facilitator, Kenneth Cummings, the City of Jackson Communications Director, and for today, I am so excited to have the Director of Recovery Court, Haley Coble. Haley, finally, welcome aboard. Welcome on to East Main 101 Lesson 17, and we also have a guest with Haley. His name is Boris Shelton. He's a graduate of Recovery Court. Boris, also, welcome into East Main 101, Lesson 17. I'm excited to talk to you both about Recovery Court. So, of course, first off, we're going to the bio for Haley Coble. Originally from Mississippi, Haley moved to Jackson, Tennessee to pursue her education at Union University. She earned both her Bachelor's of Social Work and Master of Social Work at Union University. In addition to her MSW, she is a licensed clinical social worker. Haley's journey with Recovery Court began in 2011 as a graduate student during her social work internship at Union University. Upon graduating in 2012, Haley accepted the position of Recovery Court Clinical Case Manager. Haley was then promoted to Director of Recovery Court, a position that she has held for the last 9 years. She currently oversees the strategic direction, grant management, and daily operations of the program. In addition to her role at the Recovery Court, Haley is actively involved in the Tennessee Association of Recovery Court Professionals, where she has served as the secretary and vice president to the organization. Haley has worked her entire professional career at City of Jackson Recovery Court and sees it as much more than a job, but rather a ministry. As a Christ follower, her heart for helping individuals in recovery comes from a desire to show the love of Christ to those who feel they have lost all hope. She is thankful to walk alongside them in their recovery journey and to be a small part of what God is doing in each of their lives. While Haley finds a deep fulfillment in her work at the City of Jackson, her role as wife and mother remains her greatest privilege and joy. Haley is married to her wonderful husband, Matthew, who is a coach at Trinity Christian Academy. And Haley and her husband are celebrating 6 years of marriage this month and are blessed with 2 precious children who are the highlight of their lives. Haley, I as a parent now, I get it, and I get it, and I love it. I love my wife, and there's no but. I love my wife, and I love this child that we have. It's an amazing thing to be a parent. And also we have, again, Boris Shelton, a graduate of Recovery Court. Let me read his bio to you all. Boris is a graduate, again, of Recovery Court in 2022. He has 3 years of substance-free and continues to make significant positive changes to his life even after Recovery Court. He is currently employed at Detox West Tennessee and has worked for 1.5 years. He is a dedicated advocate in the field of recovery, bringing both personal experience and professional skills to his work. Boris demonstrates his commitment to helping others navigate the challenges of addiction recovery with empathy and understanding through his role as a certified peer recovery specialist. He is also the state chair for Oxford House of Tennessee Sober Living organization, where he contributes to helping individuals in recovery have access to supportive environments that foster long-term sobriety. Boris remains in contact with the Recovery Court program, serving as an actively involved alumni member. Through his involvement, Boris continues to inspire and support others on their path to recovery. Boris, I'm excited that you're on to actually give a firsthand account of someone who went through recovery. I know we talked earlier before we started that there were some things that you went through and how they saw you, and coming through now, how the smile on your face, Recovery Court just changed your life altogether. So with that, we're going to start off. Haley, what is Recovery Court? We hear Recovery Court, we hear the court part, we hear recovery. In a nutshell, is that what it is? People recovering from certain things? Just kind of explain what Recovery Court is.
Yes, so recovery courts are designed, they're a specialized court docket that is designed to help people who are coming in and out of the criminal justice system due to reasons related to their substance use disorder. So it's if they're constantly involved in the criminal justice system, have a substance use disorder. For individuals who we know that jail is not going to help, many of them have been to jail numerous times in their life, have spent the majority of their adult lives in active addiction and in and out of jail. And recovery courts are an approach to that, to say something's not working, like the standard just treatment alone or a low level of supervision is not working for you and you need something a little more intensive. And so recovery courts were designed for public safety, to kind of help the burden in the jails of so many people who have substance use disorders and mental health disorders in the jail that are coming in and out, to actually address those underlying issues that they have, the reasons they maybe started using in the first place, to help address some of that, treat that so that they don't return back to the criminal justice system and that they don't return back to the court system. And so it's a year-long program that is designed a therapeutic approach to give them intensive case management, intensive supervision, and a lot of treatment services to address those needs.
So how you go through the system, and I say this like there are a lot of people in the criminal justice system who are in jail, who are going through addiction. How do you choose, or does the judge set this person to be able to go through recovery? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people who are like, I need to go through this, but why haven't I been picked? What is the reason behind, and how are participants chosen to go through recovery court?
Yeah, we do have set eligibility requirements. You have to have an open case in city court. They have to be not have any violent offenses on their record. And so if they volunteer to come in recovery court, the judge may see that someone is in and out of the criminal justice system, and sometimes it may be it might be a drug charge, it may not be, but a lot of times they're hearing from a public defender or a DA that, hey, they may find out that they have a drug problem or using, and they'll make a referral to our program to say, can you assess them? We do a clinical assessment. We assess to see if they're high risk and high need, and that's the participants that we take in our program, meaning that they need the highest level of care and the highest level of supervision because nothing else has worked previously. But the judge usually would notice if someone is coming in and out, or a participant sometimes will ask, and I can't remember specifically your story, Boris, but a lot of times participants will say, I just need some help. Like, I don't want to be in jail. Please, is there a treatment option? And they'll say, if you meet the requirements, we can have them assess you and see if you'd be a good fit for this year-long program.
Oh, so those who go before the judge, they can say, I just want help. That's really, I don't want to be in jail. There are a lot of people who don't want to be in jail, but there are those who really and genuinely want the help, and that's what recovery court is. Yeah. So, Boris, you've been through, you're a graduate from 2022. That's kind of recent. Just kind of introduce yourself and tell your story of how you got in recovery court, and we'll get more into how it helps you. But just whatever you want to talk to us about, whatever you want to talk to citizens about your story, feel free, open up. Just tell us your story of recovery court.
All right. My name is Boris Shelton. I am a person in recovery, so that means I haven't had a drink or drug since June 15th, 2021. And so to tell you about my story, I grew up in a good home, a very church-going family and everything. I lost my father when I was 12 years old to cancer. So around the age of 16, when I started, experiencing with just life of growing up, I started to drink and use marijuana and stuff like that. And that continued off and on till the age of, 35, when I started drug court. Even if I stopped for a little period of time, I would pick it back up, and never really held down a job for more than 5 years. And towards the end of it, towards the age of 35, I experienced going in and out of jail on probation violations, failure to appear to court, because most of the time I was using. And as far as recovery court, I remember being in jail, and it would be the talk of, hey, why don't you try drug court, or why don't you try recovery court? And everybody would say it's a setup for failure. So I didn't want to go into recovery court. Actually, when Ms. Hope came to do my assessment, I told her, I was like, I don't want drug court. Like, I don't want it. Everybody keeps telling me I'm not going to make it.
So hold on. You got people who told you that it sets you up for failure. You didn't know anything about recovery court, even though we hear the name recovery court. I can get this help. Are these people from the outside or inside telling you that it's not good for you?
Right.
Who is people from the inside telling you?
Yeah, people that were in jail with me, or even when I would get released, and I would ask about it, like I've I heard about drug court when I was in there. Like, they would say it's a hard program and you're gonna fail, mainly because if you're not wanting to stop using.
Okay.
So if you made up in your mind that you want to stop using, it's a setup for success. But if you're still on the fence and you don't really have a desire to stop, it would seem as a setup for failure. But that's just going into it, not even knowing what it's about. Once I started to get in drug court and recovery court, they say drug court, but it's really recovery.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
You hear people say drug court, people say recovery court. Personally, I hear recovery court, I'm thinking they're the same thing,
Yeah.
I'm sure. But you hear recovery court, it sounds like a help. You hear
Right.
drug court, you think, I'm going to court for drugs.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble for drugs. But both of them are interchangeable. Both of them are the same, and it's wanting to help those who want the help.
And even a broader term is treatment courts.
Okay.
There are a lot of treatment courts too, and then individualized. There's a mental health court. There's veterans court. There's different. There's juvenile drug courts. So there's levels to that as well in treatment courts. Yeah.
Cool. So, and just continue on with your story. It's interesting to hear. And like I said, we'll get into how you're feeling now. But
Yes. So even before this last time when I was in jail, I had been going in and out, mostly for probation violations and failure to appears and not doing what I was supposed to do for my probations. So it started off in high school with drinking, smoking a little marijuana, and the lapse of, from 16 up until 35.
that's 15, 16 years.
Absolutely.
That's a long time. That's about a long time. I've been here in Jackson for 15 years.
Yeah.
That's, wow. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No problem at all. It started from, just partying like, high schoolers would think that it's okay, just drinking and maybe smoking a little marijuana, to advancing to taking prescription pills that I wasn't prescribed, even advancing into doing cocaine, and to smoking crack cocaine, and advancing into methamphetamines. And I ended with the problem of using methamphetamines through IV drug use.
Wow. So just starting off drinking led you all the way to IV meth.
Yes, sir.
And wow. And it's a story that we hear all the time. Kids don't do drugs. Here's your brain on drugs. They crack an egg, put it in the skillet. I don't know if you remember that commercial.
I remember.
You remember that commercial?
Yes.
So you were one of those. You went through it, and as a kid. So you graduated recovery court in 2022. You said it's a year-long process. So from 2021 to 2022, you were in recovery court. So what is it that made you say, okay, let me go ahead and do this thing? I don't forget what the naysayers are saying. I don't want to be in jail anymore. I'm tired of going in and out. And you mentioned that if you want to stop using, it sets you up for success. What made you want to stop using and realize this is not my life? I need to be better, do better.
Well, I think it really is that I got a second chance. Like I said, when Hope came and did my assessment, I didn't want drug court. I turned it down. And she even was kind enough to help me get into ASPL recovery. And when I showed up to ASPL, I showed up and I was still intoxicated because I got released from jail early and I was supposed to be there at a certain day. So I showed up to ASPL and I was intoxicated and I ran away. I just ran out the front door. And I ended up getting caught again on another charge. And then the public defender, I asked him, I was like, so what about recovery court? Can I still do that? Because I didn't want it at first. And now when I was in, another situation to where I could probably get more time than I originally had, I was kind of at like, well, is that still on the table? I wasn't convinced that drug court was going to help me. Recovery court was going to help me at the time, but I at least wanted that chance I was given at first. And
so between that time of you saying I don't want it and then you saying you do want it, how long was that?
It was about maybe 45 days.
Okay.
And at first I wasn't trying to go back to the hard drugs like methamphetamine, but I remember I started drinking, and then it was just out of control by the time I got caught again.
Mm. Wow. And I know over at Aspel, they are pretty strict on if you show up. Well, let me not say that because I don't know. If you show up intoxicated on the front door, is that something they're like? You don't even you're coming here. You don't even want it for real. We can't help you. But you said you ran out the door yourself.
Yes,
You didn't even ask like, can y'all help me? It was
right, and it was just because they were letting me know they were about to call my probation and let them know I had got there safely.
So they were gonna tell you anyway,
right.
Your probation, and then after that probation, it's hey, you messed up. We gotta take you on back.
I don't even know if it would have been even something that I would have got in trouble for, but because I was intoxicated and because I wasn't ready to stop using. It was just what the judge told me, hey, you're supposed to be here at Aspel at this time. And even my mom, she came where I was and dropped me off, and I fought her in the car, not physically, but just verbally, like, I don't want to do this, and I remember her words were, get out the car, you have to go. And so I wasn't ready, and they just told me, we're going to let the probation know that you're here. And I took that as, I'm going back to jail. Because I knew myself that I was high, and I knew that that I wasn't supposed to probably show up there intoxicated. So I asked to go smoke a cigarette and ran out the front door.
So you were there, and I guess they're just following their rules. Hey, we see that you're here.
Absolutely.
They didn't know you were intoxicated. They didn't know you were high. Hey, we just have to call your probation officer, and that triggered. Oh my gosh. My probation officer's going. They know I'm drunk. They know I'm smoking. I'm gonna go to jail anyway. Let me just run away.
Exactly.
So that's what you went through. Wow. So 45 days, you realize, hey, I want to see if that option is still on the table.
Right.
So we get with Haley, and Haley, who makes that determination? The defender or the judge? Because I'm sure there are some judges out here like, we gave you once, twice. We gave you that option. I'm sorry, we can't do it anymore. I know I've worked with Judge Anderson. He's a really good judge as far as giving people second, third chances. Yeah. When Boris came back and asked for that option, what made you say either, was it finally, or was it, I'm glad you realized that we can help you out? Which one was, or was it both?
Yeah, I think probably a little bit of both. There are a lot of times we give multiple chances in recovery court because we know sometimes that, people may not be ready. They may be scared. I think there's a lot of fear and shame and guilt that goes into trying to get your life back on track and trying to rebuild the destruction that substance use and your choices have made. And sometimes people just aren't ready. But Judge Anderson, that was the reason he started this program in the first place 22 years ago. There are recovery courts all over, but this specific one, he started here because he kept seeing that people who need help, and want help deserve a chance. And so when Boris came back, our clinical case manager, Hope, she would be the one to go and assess him and meet with him. And I think anytime someone's willing to say, unless their charges would disqualify them, or if maybe they've been on the run a long time, or it's been too many chances, but I feel like we're pretty good about, if you really want help and you decide you're ready, we're here, doors are open and can help you with that if you're willing to give it a chance. And so I remember, I think I had to go see you in jail that one day that you first got referred to the program when you were coming back, and just you had such a sadness about you. And I remember talking to you, and I think you just felt defeated. Like, I've tried treatment before, I've tried probation, I've tried it all. My life's kind of fallen apart. I feel like I have no hope. And I think you're struggling, maybe, and you can speak to that yourself, but with your mental health, some of those things, just the depression and anxiety and stress that comes with that and that lifestyle. And I think you just had a hopelessness about you, but you said, I'm willing to try, and just see and give it a chance. And we were like, okay. Yeah,
talk about that. What was it that triggered in your mind? I'm done running. I'm done drinking. I'm done with this life after 15, 16 years of doing it. What was it that triggered you that said, I want this help. I need this help. I'm done doing all this stuff. I want to go through this program. What was that?
So, and before I answer that question, I want to give a big shout out to Aspel Recovery. They have a great program there. I just was not ready. I wasn't ready to stop. Even though I was court ordered to be there, I wasn't ready to stop using. And it took the lapse of that 45 days where before I got arrested again to me being back in the same predicament I was, living on the street, really nowhere to live, no money, no resources. My family really didn't have anything else. They didn't really want anything to do with me because of my drug use. And just feeling like I was alone out there and that I wouldn't ever stop using. I thought that I would always use drugs until I probably killed myself or ended up in prison. So, you know, when Hope did my assessment this time and I got the second chance to do recovery court, I guess it was, you know, me knowing that was a sign from God, or maybe like, you know, it's possible for me to stop using, and maybe if I do this program like I'm supposed to do, something could change. And I remember being in jail before, because when I got accepted into recovery court, one of the stipulations was I had to go to a treatment center. I'm dealing with mental health and my drug use, and so the time I had to stay in jail and wait for me to be furloughed out to a treatment center, I did a lot of thinking, and I remember this one particular call to an uncle of mine who was in church, and he prayed for me, and he was just like, you know, Boris, if you pray right now while you're waiting in jail and while you're about to go to your treatment center, if you pray right now and you believe that your life will never be the same, then that's what's going to happen. A lot of times I only prayed just to get out of trouble, just to get out of jail, just to get off of whatever they were telling me I had to do. But this time I actually prayed, and I believed, like, you know, that maybe I can stop using, and maybe that things will be different if I continue to do what I'm supposed to do.
And so, as I'm a minister, and one of my favorite topics is faith. So, and we know faith without works is dead. You have to believe that, yes, I want to stop, but you can say that all the time. You can say, I want to stop, but until you actually make the step to be like, all right, I'm for real. I want to stop, and I want to get the help to assist me in making this decision of stopping. That's what you did.
Yes.
You believed that you could do it. And if you don't mind me asking, if you don't mind talking about what were you in for, and how long over the span of, since you were 16-year-olds, do you know how long you were in jail? Not necessarily like the concurrent, but like overall, how long do you know? Well, months or days or weeks or?
I've probably been arrested maybe over 10 times. Okay. I do know that most of the time it was just for maybe a public intox. Okay. I do have a DUI on my record, and mostly was probation violations and failure to appear, which if you are released from jail and you're on probation, you're supposed to report to a probation officer. Right. It's hard to do that when you're using. If you have a court date coming up, and most of the time I would continue to get intoxicated until that court date, and then I just wouldn't show up because I was nervous, you know. So my last charge to get in drug court was at first my charge was entering a facility with contraband, because I got arrested and I had drugs on me when I entered the jail. And that was because they wasn't found in my searches. So when they were found, I kept denying, like, they wasn't mine. It's not mine, you know. And so I had the charge of entering a facility and contraband in the jail. And so with me choosing drug court, and it got pled down to simple possession of methamphetamine, and that's what got me into recovery court.
It's, your story, man. It's amazing to hear, and so we'll get into what you're doing now. But it seems like the importance of recovery court. It's a major deal for a city, for a town, for whoever decides to have a recovery court. It changes the game in allowing those who want the help, who need the help, to get it and be successful after the fact, especially if they stick with it. So, Haley, just in your opinion as a director, tell us why recovery court is important for a city and for the citizens who go through it and the citizens who hear the stories of those who will probably never have to go through recovery court. Talk about the importance of it.
Sure. I mean, we have several recovery courts here in Jackson, but having a recovery court in your town and giving, participants an avenue that actually does work in recovery courts. There's a lot of research behind them and why they work in that collaborative team approach. There's a whole treatment team of people that make decisions on each participant's progress week to week and hold them accountable. And we provide real responses to their behavior, in real time throughout their time in the program to help change some of their thoughts and their coping skills and help teach some of that and address some of that. But if you're, the jails, if you talk to anybody who works at the jail right now, they're overcrowded with so many people who, like we talked about at the beginning, have substance use disorders or mental health disorders, and they're coming back and back again, and more people are getting arrested for that, knowing that it's not treating, not treating really the real problem that's there. And so it's a huge public safety concern too. So by getting people treatment that they need and deserve and giving them an avenue to get that help and work through some of that, it's not only a change in their individual life, but in their family's life. And Boris can talk a little bit about that with his family. He has children. But then when you see participants getting their kids back and they become a family again, when you hear moms who get their children back, it's a huge deal in being able to change the trajectory of not only individuals but their families, and then in turn our communities, making our communities safer. It's saving taxpayer money by reducing the burden on the criminal justice system and court and people coming in and out. So by actually having people recover and get their lives back on track, as Boris has done and as many of our clients do, stopping that cycle that they have been involved in for the majority of their lives, and then having people, being able to come and share his story and tell people. I think there's a lot of misconceptions too about addiction and a lot of stigma around that. I think it's getting better, but around mental health and addiction. And so to raise awareness on that it's very complex. A lot of times the reasons that people start using in the first place, there's usually some underlying trauma and reasons and things that have happened in their childhoods. Many of our clients have started using at the age, I've met with two recently this past week who are about to graduate, and started using as early as 8 years old. So when you see someone telling their story here, as a 40-year-old man saying, I started using at 8, and maybe it was a parent or family member that first gave them substances, or that wasn't involved in their life, or that first broke that trust with them and didn't keep them safe when they were supposed to. Hearing their experiences and their stories, they're still being held accountable in recovery court, and there are consequences for your actions, but there's also that seeing someone who's hurt, and who has been hurt in their life, and can lead you to have some empathy for maybe some of the decisions that they've made and how they got to where they are. And so I love that about recovery courts. It's still holding them accountable for, the things that they have, the legal charges that they have, but giving them an avenue to actually treat that problem and to make real changes in the program. And
so with recovery court here, I've learned of a lot of successes. We heard about one during the mayor's State of the City last year. She's got her house, got her kids back. So there's a lot of success with it. When it comes to what happens in recovery court, are your participants, are they on probation, are they in jail, or take us through, either one of you as a director and you as a participant, take us through what your roles are during that year-long process. Is it a class that starts in May that goes through May to April, or can people come in during that year and start when they need to start on that day? So as a director, take us through the process, and as a participant, take us through the process of
so there are 5 phases when they come in that they have to complete throughout the program, and wherever they are, that first phase is really stabilizing them. Sometimes they don't have the basic needs of just housing and food and clothes and transportation, so we're really working our clinical case manager, Hope. She does a lot with that with them on the front end of helping them find housing, helping them, do you have groceries? Do you have something to eat tomorrow? Can I help you with that? Do you have a bus pass? Some of those basic needs, and really stabilizing Is there a mental health component there? Do we need to help get you referred for medication? And then they move through those phases as they go along. So we have a treatment provider that comes on site, Hope Restored Counseling. They provide all of our treatment for us. So there's classes that our participants go through within each phase. So they can start those at any time when they come in. So the participants, it's really pretty quick. Once they get referred to recovery court, they get entered. If they meet all the requirements, they get started right away, and their year and a half begins. And so they're able to go through that program, get involved in their treatment classes, and doing all of those things that they need to do throughout that year with us.
Okay. Boris, for you as a participant, take us through your phases of how you started. She mentioned how when she saw you in jail, you were just like, you looked defeated. And I see you now. I mean, if you weren't here, I wouldn't have even thought you had gone through recovery court. So talk about for your experience in the entire program.
I think the greatest thing is for recovery court participants is that it's based on the individual. Every participant has a different plan they go through. So my plan was, I think it was necessary for me to sit in jail for a little while before I went to treatment because I had a problem of just continue to use and use and use. And since the age of 16, I never really had a span of not using. I always had that choice of if I'm not gonna use, or am I gonna use? And it always was I'm gonna use. So for me, it was the time of sitting in jail and then being furloughed out to a treatment center for 30 days and then being able to come back and with the stipulation of me living in sober living for a little while. And, our daily task for drug court was, we had to, every morning we had to check in. So we would have to have a cell phone and it would scan our location and it would let drug court know where we are, where we're supposed to be, where we're supposed to be. And then it would tell us if we had a drug test to come take. And that's the accountability part because most of the time before drug court, I keep saying drug court.
That's fine.
That's fine.
There's interchangeable.
Most of the time before recovery court, I was a runner, so I always was staying at different locations because I was either scared that I had a warrant out, I was going to go to jail. So I had never had a stability of staying in one spot. So with coming into phase one, I was scanning my face on my phone every morning to let them know I'm where I'm supposed to be. And then it would let me know if I had to go take a drug test down at city court. So that would encourage me the night before to plan, hey, I might have a drug test tomorrow, so I probably need to make sure I have a way there. Or if I'm going to ride the bus, or if I'm going to ask one of my roommates to take me, or if I'm going to call a family member. So it was starting me, it's getting in the habit of planning the night before for the day, the next day. And then after that, very soon you start your IOP classes. So they gave me initiative to make sure I'm getting sleep at night. So I would be ready to be in IOP class. And also we were supposed to attend 12-step meetings, 12-step programs. So that's just more information and being around other people who are trying to stop using. And all that was taken to a factor of me reliving my life because I didn't know how to live life without using drugs. So it's like I started all the way over as soon as I got into drug court.
So accountability.
Yeah.
That sounds like the name of the game.
The big piece.
You're free from not being in jail, but in the back of your mind, you have, I could go back if I go back to doing what I was doing. You're not being watched like you would be in jail, but you're being tracked. So the recovery court director and all those who want to help you, they're just there to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do because you said you want the help. y'all don't do y'all hold their hands through it, or do you just like, hey, we want you to go, we
Yeah.
want you to do what you're supposed to do?
It really has to be their own choice, but there's a lot of motivating and a lot of support. And I think that's the unique thing about recovery courts is that if you were to walk into city court on any given day, the recovery court docket is so different in that therapeutic approach that like even the judge provides. So our team and our staff, I think we have really caring people on our team, and recovery courts in general, I think the people that work for them, have a heart for that and wanting to help people. And so there's that accountability piece. It's all laid out for you. But I think for the first time, many of our participants tell us that that's the first time you've ever had somebody really feel like they cared about you in a criminal justice setting for sure, or in a, they, like you said, they're scared at first thinking like, I don't want to go into drug court. I've heard about drug court, but I'm like, well, think who you're hearing that from. Someone in jail who decided they don't want to make a change.
Right.
They don't want to do anything different. And so, yeah, I think it's that big accountability piece and supervision, and we're there to help them make those, if they have an outcome in court, like if a desired behavior and undesired behavior, we address that. So if they're doing great, we provide incentives like, good job, you have 30 days substance free, you made all your meetings this week, you attended all your treatment classes. We really praise and incentivize that in court. And then if there's an undesired behavior, we have to address that as well. If they've been coming late every day, if they do have the presence of substances in their drug screen, we have to address all of those things and help them, provide some responses to that behavior to hopefully help them keep making good choices or to stop making some of the negative choices.
So when you were using, did you have influences, or was it just a you thing? I'm going to do this. I don't have friends who are using with me. Was it just a you thing? Did you have?
No, absolutely not. It was my choice. I came from a good family. I don't have any brothers or sisters that deal with substances. So it was.
Did you have like any friends or outside influences that made you want to continue, and that will lead me to my next question of how I'll phrase it. So, if it was just your decision, I'm gonna drink. I don't have any friends to help me, but did you have any outside influences to provide you with the things that you needed to use, or was it just I'm gonna do this on my own?
Are you talking about while I was in drug court or before?
No, before. So the reason that you started using and were in it, was that your decision to start? I know you mentioned your father passed away, but were there any, I say friends because that's what we call people who we hang out with, and did you have those type of influences that made you start using?
Yes and no. Of course, it was my choice. At the end of the day, I chose to do what I did, but trying to fit in, looking for, I guess, to be popular or cool.
So there was some type of peer pressure.
Absolutely.
Or even if it wasn't pressure, they're doing it, I might as well do it. Nothing's happening to them. We can go through this. We'll be fine.
And even sometimes I was always looked as the church boy. So, so I want to be the bad guy today. So I can drink and I can smoke just like the rest of you.
Okay, so with that, as you were going through, were there any outside influences in your ear saying, come on, let's go back drinking, let's go back smoking? Or was that also just you fighting yourself, saying, I want to go back, let me go back, no, I need to stay through this. I need to stay through this recovery court?
By the time I got to recovery court, and it's different for every participant. Okay. By the time I got to recovery court, I had a made up mind to where I didn't want to go back. I had hit several rock bottoms, and I was kind of tired of the lifestyle I was living. So, with the help of recovery court and with the help of Hope and Haley and the whole program, I really didn't have any influences while I was in drug court to go back.
So you talk about the accountability and the people. You say you had to go through like this 12-step and you had to relive, and there were other people there reliving theirs. Mm-hmm. During your time there, and as a director, as you're watching or a part of this, do you see the participants come together like, hey, we can make it through this? Mm-hmm. Do they influence each other? Do they hold each other accountable? What do you see in that?
Yes, so much. I think it's like a little recovery court family between y'all, and you can speak to your perspective, but they have someone who's going through the same thing with them. So I think that camaraderie is there and that encouragement. And a lot of times after court happens, we may have someone who maybe used substances that week, who maybe had to do a consequence in jail for a day because of some of the choices that they made. We may have someone graduating the program or who's celebrating 30 days substance free. So to see we all meet together after our court sessions just to kind of debrief, here's what happened, here's how the team came to this decision, and kind of process that as a group, and to hear them encouraging each other and to be there for each other is one of the best things. And Boris was actually chosen multiple times, I think, as our peer award. We give out. We have the participants choose someone that they feel like models behavior that is exemplary, and then someone who encourages them, and somebody who they feel really proud of that they look up to. And we have people pick that. And I think you got that a few times in the program because people saw that a lot of them knew you from your life before recovery court, and they were involved in a lot of the same things with you, when y'all were in active addiction. And to hear them say, Boris, I knew you, when we would share stories about y'all, then to say, and now you're about to graduate the program, or you're such a mentor for me, and you're an encouragement and an example to me. I feel like so many times they had that specifically to say about him because of how encouraging he was, and seeing the change from before he was in recovery court to now, and being able to see that was exciting.
And for you, you feel that same way about others who are currently in the program and those who graduated before you? Did you feel influenced by them? I forget what the naysayers used to tell me. This is what I needed. Let me go back. If you knew in 2021, 2022, that year that you were in, if you knew then if you knew back then when you were in jail, when those people were telling you it's not for you, what you knew in 2021, 2022, that the recovery court program would help you, would you have done it back then?
I can't say, because I really wasn't ready.
And we go back to that. You weren't ready. You keep going back to that.
Yeah.
You have to be ready to do it. You have to be willing to want to stop the abuse of yourself, of using drugs, to be able to go through this program. That's what you're saying.
Yes, because even, it's always a choice. The recovery court program, they don't put any handcuffs on you and tell you that you have to be here to do this. Yeah. Even coming in, me and the other participant kind of looked at Hope and Haley like, oh, that's the police. We gotta, we gotta watch what we do around them. And then after a while, it becomes, hey, that's Hope and Haley. I'm proud to say that I'm still here. My first day walking into recovery court, I saw two participants that I had used with in active addiction. And so that was like my first visual of, hey, if they're in here doing this, maybe I can too. Even if I was still on the fence of, am I actually going to do this? And it's kind of like high school, you're a freshman, you see the seniors, and I'm like, that's the cool kids, that's the seniors. Yeah. But the cool kids I'm looking at were the same people that I was using with. So it's like you gain a certain connection with them, and then even throughout the program, I see when I got into phase 3 and phase 4, I would see the new participants come in, of people that I was in active addiction with, and I'm like, I'm still here, like, you can do this, it's possible, because some of the participants that were in recovery court with me, we were out there pretty much really strong in active addiction. Mm-hmm. And so we're now sitting in, city court in a recovery court setting, and we're trying, and nobody's holding a, handcuffed to us or saying that, like, if you don't do this, something's going to happen. It's our choice, because at a certain point in time, you have to want it,
And you wanted it.
Yes.
And we see 2022, you're a graduate and you're telling your story, and you're not one of the people who used to tell you no point in doing it. Right. You're one of the people who are telling others, you can go through this, you can make it through recovery court, and you have to want it. I keep hearing that, and that's one of the things about just life in general. You are yourself. That sounds weird, but nobody can make a choice for you. As babies, we have to make choices with it. As an adult human being who we have to make our own good choices. Mm-hmm. And if we want something, whether it's the good or the bad. If you wanted those drugs, you were going to go and get those drugs.
Absolutely.
Thing is also, if you wanted to be recovered, you wanted to go through this program, you made that choice to do it. So I hear that, and I commend you on just making it through the program. I mean, again, your story is something that I would love a lot of people to hear.
Yes.
So the successes that you see, Haley, we have Boris here, and he's talked about them, and we read about him, we hear from him. Are there any other success stories that come to your mind that just blow your mind of how they made it, how they were when you first saw them? Kind of like Boris, he was sad, dejected, felt defeated, and now he's where he is now. Are there any other stories that just come to your mind about that just make you proud and I know there are a lot of people who've gone through it.
There's
sure,
so many.
Yeah.
It's so hard to pinpoint, but honestly, sitting here thinking back to like what he was talking about, I feel like people who knew you before recovery court and knew your story then, we only get to see them day one when it's like they're like, I've lost all hope. So to us, seeing you sitting in handcuffs in the jail, ready to come in the program, and then the day you graduate, there's that sense of pride with every client, seeing them get their family back, their kids back. We invite them, their family members, to the graduation too. So to hear a mom hugging her, son saying, I've been praying for this day, that one day he would finally get it together, and now I'm sitting here at his graduation in city court, and I'm so proud of him, and I'm so glad he's doing it.
And on the flip side, are there children who see their parents?
Yes. So some of them will invite, or bring their kids if they're age appropriate to their graduation. They might not really have an understanding of everything that's going on, but a lot of times their kids will come too, and just to see them sitting there with their children, knowing that a year and a half ago that was not the case, that our participant was in jail. Those children were taken from them and living with someone else, and to see the effects on their family is so tough. But it's interesting because people ask us to define our success stories, and numbers are so important and the data is important, and we have a lot of clients that graduate, but sometimes the participants who, even like Boris, ran away the first time and chose not to complete it initially, we have clients that do that midway through the program. Sometimes they just say, hey, they don't come back, or they choose not to participate in recovery court for whatever reasons. But sometimes those are the participants that do come back, that say, I got terminated because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to, I was non-compliant, or I ran away because I just wasn't ready. And then even if they don't finish the program, sometimes they're the ones calling us or coming back by to say, the time I was here, I saw that y'all really did care about me, and what I learned here, just because I didn't complete the program, it doesn't discount the time that they spent with us. And sometimes those are the people that end up doing well also, and you may not expect that, sometimes.
So they can come if they run away mid-program. It's automatic. You can come back whenever you want, or you have to go back.
I just mean
through.
they'll come back to visit just to say, hey,
Gotcha.
once they've served their time maybe and gotten back, they'll just be like, something was different about, my time here. And even though I didn't finish the program, still care about the connections that they made with our staff and our treatment team and judge, and come back and let us know that they're doing good now, even though they didn't finish. So the graduates are so exciting to see, and knowing that even for events like this, that if I have a graduate, I'm like, hey, can you come and share your story? That I have people like Boris and Takesha, who you mentioned earlier, who spoke at the State of the City. She's someone that stands out to me as well, because her life was in shambles, when we first saw her in jail, and then to see her with her two children, her two little girls, and seeing how proud they are to have their mom back, and to see her working and moving up as a manager in her employment and wanting to open her own business, and her relationship with the Lord and being involved in church. I'm like, you can't, it's such a proud thing to be a part of, and we're just a small part of that, but we get to see them for that whole year and a half or year that they're with us, and I think that's so fun to see.
It's important.
Yeah.
It truly is. And you mentioned public safety and just the safety of, we talk about public safety, and it's not just somebody being safe from somebody else. It's somebody being safe from themselves, making sure that they're okay. And that's one thing, recovery court, you want to make sure that they're okay, and so that they can live better lives than what they were going through.
Yes, and so many times we see it's a cycle. Many of our participants, their parents also use substances, and so their parents weren't in their life. And then to have our clients who maybe they're using and they get their children taken, and then they'll tell us, my child has started to use. It's like some of those things that it's just a cycle. And once you break that cycle is what's so important too, to know people get their kids back and there's that stability and hopefully change the trajectory of their children and families' lives.
That's amazing. And Boris, you graduated again 2022. What are you doing now? Family life, personal life, work life. What's Boris up to?
So currently I work at Detox West Tennessee. So it is a detox center for people detoxing off of alcohol and drugs.
So you were using, went through recovery court. Now you're working for an organization to help people stop. Full circle.
Yes. Never would have thought that on day one.
Wow.
No.
And did you know if this is something that you wanted to do after you got out of recovery court, or some people, they just get regular jobs and they would just come back to help, if Haley Coble. But for you, you're actually working in some kind of recovery system. Is that something you knew you wanted to do when you graduated?
Not at first. When I first got into recovery court, my main thing was, can I even successfully have a job? My first job was at Grubb's Grocery, and I love Grubb's. It taught me how to.
That's where I know you from.
Yes, sir. Yes,
You were like
sir.
star employee
That's where I
there
know you
too.
from. Because I worked. I got here in 2019, and I would go to Grubb's, get some salads or sandwiches, and then okay, I'm sorry. See, that's where I know you from. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So and that job worked for me when I first started recovery court, because shout out to all the employers that hire people in recovery. It's growing in that field, as year by year, because sometimes employers look at our records and stuff like that, and they I don't know if I want you to work for me, but some employers give people chances in recovery, and that's necessary for us to even get back into life and start working. So, Grubb's Groceries downtown, right close to drug court. And so I didn't know then that I wanted to work in this field. But I had the opportunity to be in Oxford House, and I have a lot of brothers and sisters that are in Oxford House with jobs in recovery, so that just opened up the door for me to even have that chance to do that. Probably more towards I was, coming up on graduation, I had it in my mind I at least wanted to be a CPRS worker, and whatever that entailed of working in recovery, along with that, I wanted to be a part of that.
So Oxford House, kind of explain, you're a certified peer recovery specialist and state chair of Oxford House. I mean, that sounds like a very important position. Talk about what Oxford House is and what you contribute to that organization.
So Oxford House is a sober living organization. We're self-supporting. We have houses all over the United States. We just recently, it was a post on Facebook, we have over 4,000 houses now. So these houses are all around the United States, women houses, male houses, women and children houses, even men and children houses. And basically, we live in homes, and we're self-supporting. We all, there's no house manager. We all are equally in that house. We all pay the same amount of money for our rent every week. And it teaches us how to, be in an environment with other people that are trying to stop using. And also on the recovery side of things, we also are encouraged to work 12-step programs, have sponsors, and it teaches us how to pay bills for the house and also to pay bills for ourselves. And I'm a part of being, I'm also part of the state association for Tennessee. Okay. So, and that gives me the opportunity to be a chain of support for houses all over Tennessee. So
that's a full circle, man. That's, gosh. again, your story is something that I hope people hear, and I hope that you're not afraid to continue to tell it, because there are people who need it. So, Haley, for you to hear, I know you watched them go through the program, you were there for his graduation, and it's been 2 years since graduating. You've heard his story over and over and over. Yeah. Sitting here today to hear him tell it again, how does it make you feel each time you hear it? And to see his recovery, how does that make you feel?
Yeah, I'm sure you see the smile on my face. I'm so proud of them all, and especially Boris too, and seeing how far he's come. And just like you said, that he's willing to come and share a story. I think it takes so much courage to be able to talk about some of the choices that you've made and in your life before recovery court, and to be able to be vulnerable about that and share. But I know he knows from learning from other people and being able to pour into people now that that's what's so needed, is to share your story and provide hope to people who feel like that they've lost all hope, and that, you know, that they could never get clean and they could never change. To see somebody sitting here saying, I can do it and you can do it too, and having that encouragement makes me so proud that we just got to be even a small part of it, which is why I love the work that I get to do every day and seeing stories like this.
Everyday work, and you do an amazing job. Just to hear the stories, to see the posts on Facebook of all the graduates. You care for all of those. I don't have any tissues, so try to hold those.
I'm not gonna cry.
It's all good.
You know, there's some really hard days too, and with overdoses the way that they are now, you know, there's a lot of tough days too with participants who don't finish the program. So when you see someone like Boris, who's changed his life, his family's life, and helping so many other people, it's so rewarding to see, to know that real change is happening.
Wow. City of Jackson Recovery Court Director Haley Coble, 2022 graduate Boris Shelton. Thank y'all for coming on, talking about Recovery Court. I'm from Memphis. Memphis may have had one, but moving to Jackson to learn more about Recovery Court, I see it's an amazing thing to have for a city. And y'all are doing amazing work. And I say that you as a director and you as a graduate going back to tell others that it's, you know, what it is and how it helps you both, you as a director and you as a graduate. So again, thank you all for coming on for
Thank you for having us.
Lesson 17. So as always, we have a pop quiz. It's education. That's what East Main 101 is. Education about city government. So I just like to do a pop quiz, and it's essentially 3 questions about my guest. Probably got 2 just based on time for you all. So the first question, we talked off camera about things that you like to do and places that you visited. So first question, travel-wise, for both of you, what is, I guess, your favorite place that you've ever visited outside of Jackson, Tennessee? Because I know Jackson is an amazing place to live. Yeah. I love it. Outside of Jackson, Tennessee, what is one of your favorite places that you've ever visited?
I went to Europe, and that was so fun. I got to go to London and Paris and Italy, and it was an amazing trip. So I talked to my husband about that all the time. It was before we got married. I'm like, I can't wait to hopefully one day take our family back and go there. It was awesome. But Italy specifically was so beautiful, and the food was amazing. Right. So it was really fun.
Awesome. And for you?
Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
While I was still in recovery court, I got the opportunity to go to Seattle, Washington to an Oxford House World Convention. And so me and a lot of my friends that are in Oxford House got to fly on a plane. Many of us weren't even, thinking about flying on a plane before we got sober or anything like that. And we got to fly over to Seattle, do some sightseeing, and also attend the convention. It was about 2,000 people.
Was this like your first flight?
No, not my first flight.
Okay.
No, but my first flight being not under the influence.
Right. So you can actually enjoy it and be up there. So you said it was while you were in treatment. I mean, that sounds like an incentive itself to be able to represent recovery court somewhere else. I mean, Seattle, Washington, you're 2 time zones away from here in Jackson. That's amazing to be able to, man. I go back to when you said that people will tell you it's a waste of time. You're traveling. You're a board chair of an organization to help those. You were ready. That's amazing, man. Seattle, Washington. You like the city up there?
Well, it was different.
Okay.
You know, I've never been to the west side of the United States before I went to Seattle, and I've never flown on a plane that long.
Yeah.
And then to be around my peers that have also are in recovery, so that's what made the trip exciting.
Awesome. So, question number 2. We know that you're here in Jackson. You're working director. You're with Oxford House. Outside of anything related to recovery or drugs or any of that, what are some of your favorite things to do? Some of your favorite things to do? Personally, me, I'm outside of work. I'm not thinking about this place. I'm at the gym or now spending time with my baby cat. So there are things that we have to do to keep our mind off of work. Yeah. What are some of those things for you?
Same with me. I have 2 little children, a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and so spending time with my husband and kids, I think every day is an adventure. Doesn't matter what we do. You know, they're so young, but seeing life through their eyes and new experiences is so fun for me. So we try to find fun things to do and family events. So I spend the majority of my time. That's my first priority in this stage of, life, is being a wife and a mom, and we're actively involved in our church and spend a lot of time doing that. So it's about all I got time for right now.
I hear that. And outside of Oxford House, what are some of the things you'd like to do?
Well, getting to know my family again, because, during active addiction, I kind of strayed away from them for a long time, and I do have a 13-year-old son who lives in Nashville. So just getting to know him now that he's growing up. I have 2 nieces now. Actually 3. I just had one. My baby sister has a niece. She lives in Australia. So just being a part of their lives. One of my nieces, named Dahlia, my sister was pregnant with her right before I went to jail to get in recovery court. And so just to see her grow up at the same amount of time that I have in sobriety is amazing. Wow. I'm also really involved with church, and I'm a musician for my church, New Jerusalem Ministries downtown. Okay. So I'm there every Sunday getting to play drums for the church.
Australia, is that somewhere you would like to go out and visit?
Absolutely. I was supposed to go this year, just with Oxford House and the things I were doing for them didn't allow me to get over there. But she's always invited me to come, and that's one of my goals. I've never been out of the country.
Okay. And you mentioned, and I know this is part of the pop quiz section, but to hear you say getting to know my family is one of the things I liked. We didn't even get to touch on that. How active addictions, that's what you call it, can tear families apart. Getting to know your family, how hard was that to not, your family, but when you're in that state of addiction, you don't really know them. How is it now to be able to go to those family functions and just enjoy it without the thought of going to get something to drink or any other hard drug?
It's just amazing to see, because a lot of times in addiction, family members enable the person going through that. And then there's an enabling part, and then there's a cutoff part where they can't have anything else to do with you because of their safety, even because of your safety. Yeah. So just gaining back that trust year by year, it just gets better and better. And then being able to look them in the eye and not hide or not be ashamed of anything, and then to actually share some of the things that I went through in addiction that they're unaware of. And they can see that I overcame that, and I'm around in their life now, and with no thoughts of going back to that life.
Because you made the choice that you were ready to do it.
With the help of God.
That's
of
that most definitely.
Yes.
100%. I mean, you mentioned how you prayed that you wanted it, and God made a way for you to have it. Even after you think about the denials. We do things that make us think that God never wants us again. But you denied wanting to do recovery court over and over and over. But you finally made the decision, okay, I want to do it. God made a way for it to happen. We can pass the offering plate right now if we need Haley Coble, Director of Recovery Court, Boris Shelton, 2022 graduate of Recovery Court Program. Thank you for being on Lesson 17 of East Main 101. Now that does it for East Main 101, Lesson 17. We do have homework for East Main 101, Lesson 17, and all that homework is to visit our website and check out the Recovery Court page on our website, jacksontn.gov. There's also a Facebook page for Recovery Court where you can see photos of the graduates, of them getting their certificates, photos of the happy families coming back together after their family members went through Recovery Court. So check out their Facebook page and just leave a comment, follow them, learn more about Recovery Court because you might have someone who may need it. So check that out at jacksontn.gov and find the Recovery Court page. Again, that does it for Lesson 17 of East Main 101. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media channels and also opt in to our text alerts by visiting connect.jacksontn.gov. Also, be sure to visit eastmain101.jacksontn.gov to subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast channels to listen to each lesson in its entirety. And with that, until next lesson, class dismissed.